Arch Advocate Show for Monday. Welcome back. I hope you lived through Black Friday. I hope you got a lot of really good deals. Big holiday weekend, Thanksgiving. It's such a beautiful and uniquely American holiday. But you might be thinking to yourself, I wonder what Pete's going to talk about today. Is it going to be the downfall of the cryptocurrency market? Is it going to be the riots in France? I don't know. Is it going to be the military gathering up on our southern border? Probably not. I'm not going to talk about any of those things. I'm going to be talking about the downfall of one Jordan B Peterson, and I'm doing this at the request of Mr. Pink from Reservoir Dogs, Matthew Pink, who is living there in Ventura County. He has survived the fires of late. Congratulations on that, Matthew Pink. He had asked me some questions, and I have some other emails that I want to get to as well. But before I get to any of that stuff, I was thinking over the weekend. Now, you guys know it's been a hell of a week for old Petey, right? Excuse me. Had a brand new baby boy just over a week ago, Saturday. And that anybody who's had kids, you know that the joys that a new life brings is it's uncalculable, and also there's stresses that come with it. There's lack of sleep. There's financial concerns. There's health concerns. There's like every time you look in the baby's diaper and it looks like wet mustard, and it's like, oh God, is it diarrhea? You have to think about stuff because, infant mortality and, sudden infant death, it's SIDS, they call it, that's what it's called. And there's statistics about infant mortality. It's like those things weigh on your mind, and you don't want to think about them because it's like, dude, that's grim. But at the same time, it's like, man, I'm a parent, man. I have to think about these things. I have to continually check my son, make sure he's breathing, because he sleeps a lot. He's had a rough week. He's tired. And just over the weekend, I was really thinking, because, I talk on this show quite a bit about supernatural powers. They're not as they are in the movies, right? Your supernatural power is never going to be the Darth Vader chokehold, right? You're never going to be Luke Skywalker retrieving your lightsaber in the cave of the Hoth monster. It's not like that, right? But you do have supernatural powers, and one of the easiest way to prove that to an individual, if you're a skeptic, the easiest way I can prove that to you is just say, look, take 30 days, all right? If there truly is eternal power, right? If there truly is some sort of mysterious force that you can tap into and use for not only your own betterment, but as a way to encourage you to communicate with an all-powerful being that is responsible for creating everything. There's nothing more easy to access than gratefulness. It's easy. It takes discipline, right? It's not easy to do, but it's easy to explain. It's like, look, just take a month, all right? Surely taking 3 to 5 minutes every day for 30 days is not too much. You know what I mean? It's not too big of a wager. It's like if you're a staunch atheist, it's like, look, just take 30 days. Just do this. Take notes. Make mental notes, write down notes, and say, did my life change at all after these 30 days of being grateful? Wake up in the morning and be like, okay, I'm healthy. I realize I take that for granted. I eat every day. I realize I take that for granted. You know what? I should be grateful. I am grateful for these things. And then, you do that every single day. And just start, mark these things down. I'm grateful that my children are healthy. I'm grateful that I'm employed. I'm grateful that, whatever. I live in a country where, it's got the best medical care in the world. Whatever it is. Just, get yourself in that frame, and you will notice that the way that you navigate your own way through this life will alter for the better. And that you will start seeing opportunities and things of that nature that will, you'll realize that like they were always there to begin with, but now you can see them. And that is supernatural and gratefulness. And so what I wanted to get into was, as I was thinking over the weekend about gratefulness and, how much I talk about it, how much I need to write out, In fact, Todd Milligan has got, I sent him a book. I know Todd's been busy, but I just wrote a really quick thing about gratefulness, and I need to publish it. I'm gonna give that away for you guys on the website. Let me just get that put together for you. But it's supernatural, and I realized that I had been a little bit slack in my expression of gratefulness to you guys. I need to be writing you guys letters, little emails, just saying, hey, thanks, You guys talk to me on Telegram, you guys send me emails, and I get a great deal of joy out of that, and I don't do a lot to let you guys know, like, how happy that makes me, and how encouraging that makes, that is to me. And so I wanted to take a minute to try to correct some of that. The Patreon supporter, the monthly patrons, there's 8 of you guys left, and I can't tell you guys, and it's Todd Milligan, right? The original Crypto Creep, Todd Milligan, Eli Rodriguez, Nellie Suboten, and Dan Morin, Dave Keeler, Adrian, Stuart Smith, Jay Honey, and Bad Wolf, he prefers to do it through PayPal. Ian, listen, without you guys, like this show would get to be impossible, particularly now with the new baby. So this show literally is brought to you by you, and I can't tell you like how happy that makes me. Like this is what I want to do. Like I'm looking around at the world, going, wow, these are very important times. These are times that are going to be marked down in the book. And I want to be a leveling force in that. Something that people can turn to and say, okay, well, I'm not alone in feeling this way. Just the same way that the Crypto Currently show was about. It was like it's not about like, are you going to be able to buy a Lamborghini this time next year? It's, are you going to be able to stay sane? And as you've seen in the cryptocurrency market, there's a lot of things that'll drive you crazy. There's a lot of people that have already gone crazy. There's already been people that have been like, they're going to prison because they got too crazy. They got all caught up in it. You know what I mean? And I want to be the guy that comes in and just says, look, man, here's the thing. Like your sense of humor, you need to keep a sense of humor about yourself. Because there's some things coming that when they hit you, like if you're not able to find the humor in it and laugh about it, like you're going to get depressed. And that's just one step closer to going crazy. And so Dave Keeler, he posted a funny thing about local coin swap last night. I was like, oh, thank God, thank God. Like he's not thank God, everybody lost money on that, but thank God, like he's keeping a sense of humor about it. Because that's what it's going to take. And when we look around and we see people that, like Owen Benjamin was talking about the war on beauty. He's like, we're living in a time where society is telling you that the very standard of beauty is some ugly, old, worn-out man who dresses as a woman. And they put him on the cover of Time Magazine or ESPN and say, Woman of the Year. This is what beauty is now. It's this horrific old man. He was once great, but he was a tortured soul, and he lived with some very ugly women, some very ugly people, and they made him ugly. And now he's just this ugly, distorted thing, and society is saying, no, this is beauty. And it's like, no. Don't lose sight. Don't lose your sight. And I have this platform in which I can preach this sermon and say, look, just don't go crazy, all right? Don't be afraid to call things what they are. Don't be afraid, you know what I mean? Like just and don't think you're going to be perfect. Don't have that weird expectation on yourself, like you're going to be the one who has it all figured out. Look, we're all going through this together. We're all equally, looking around going, man, this is strange. So thank you, you guys. You guys make it possible, and I really appreciate that. And if you're listening and maybe you're new or whatever, I know it's the holiday seasons and it's probably the worst time of year to bring this up, but if you want to support the show, you can, there's a couple different ways. You can become a monthly patron, or you can do it on PayPal me/ArchAdvocate. Either way, it's up to you, whatever you want. But it is appreciated deeply. I can't tell you how much. And it keeps the show going. So thank you very much. A couple things before I get into Jordan B. Peterson there. Somebody had written in and was asking me questions saying, and it's fine, but somebody was writing in and said, well, why did you say that your baby was going to be born at the end of October, but instead it was more like the end of November? But the thing is that it wasn't really like a question. It was more of like an accusation, like I was up to no good, right? And that's fine too. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people don't really think about the way that they're forming their question. And sometimes mistakes, little slights like that can happen just because people they're just not thinking about the way that it sounds. Let me explain this. I'm in a country right now where very recently they were all communists. And there's a great deal of the way that this nation is run that is still socialist. There are still socialist grocery stores here. The school system is run very socialist. The hospital system, the medical care that you receive, it's all socialists. And there's a reason why, until you really tuned into this podcast, that you really never heard very much about Albania. It's a tiny little country. And it's about the size of Vermont, right? It's very small. And, things go on here that the rest of the world is just completely unaware of. Eventually I need to do like an entire special on this of like why socialism, particularly when it comes to medical coverage, is really bad. Because deep in the heart of everybody is a capitalist, right? When we go to, like when my wife and I went to the hospital, we were expected by the doctors and the hospital staff, the nurses and everything, which there's only, in the hospital, there were like 4 medical professionals working that night. In a hospital. You understand me? Like, it's not good. And everybody there, because they're all, they get paid by the government. The government pays them because it's run on socialism. And because the government pays them, they pay them very little. And because of that, every single person who was working that night expected a bribe. Because that's the end result of socialism. See, everybody wants to be rewarded for their hard work. And when your whole thing is run on socialism, there's no reward for your hard work. And so you begin to demand from other people bribes. That's how it works. Like, that's the end result. The thing is, I don't have any money to bribe anybody. I'm not a rich guy, right? And that was a huge concern, because it's like you don't know how ugly people get when it comes to money. I come in there, my wife is about to give birth, she's in horrific pain, and these people are looking at me like I'm a chicken dinner. Right? It's mealtime, baby. The rich American is here. It's like, dude, I don't have any money to give you. I literally don't have any money to give you. I'm sorry. But I can't say that because I don't speak Albanian. Why? Because I'm lazy. But different topic. When it came to, when my wife got pregnant, we went to a doctor, and that doctor said, your expected due date is going to be November, I think it was 18th, right? And later on, a couple of months later, because you got to keep going back and checking in, and they, check the baby and everything. You go back in, and then this other doctor says, well, your due date's going to be October 30th or whatever it was that they said. And the thing is that, if you've ever had a baby, it's like you don't really know. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to rely on medical professionals to tell you, because it's like I don't know. We don't put it in our diary every time we do the grown-up dance. You know what I mean? And so there was that expectation, because my wife was so very pregnant, like just the baby was sticking all the way out, and it was like, man, this baby's got to be due by the end of October. That doctor surely had to be right, because this baby is really sticking out. I mean, that turkey is cooked and it's ready to come out of the oven. But as it turned out, the other doctor was right. And this is the problem with like living in a country where it's like you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what the doctor knows. There's no standard of professionalism. Dude, people smoke in the hospital in this country. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but like when my wife gave birth, and she, they put her in this room with two other beds in it, so 3 beds altogether, and there were holes in the walls, and there was filth on the floor, and it's like, that's got to be biomaterial. Like, it's not great. And so, in short, to answer your question, if you were asking this question at all, the reason why there were 2 very different dates that were like a month apart, one due date being the end of October and another, the middle part of November, is because that's the medical attention that I'm afforded right now, and I don't know. So, anyways, if you were wondering, that's why that happened. I'm in a situation where, yes, the medical coverage is free, and that old adage of you get what you pay for could not be more evident why we have that saying. You get what you pay for, and it's not great. Thank God, giving birth is something that God has equipped women with, and yes, there's doctors, but pretty much you can put it on autopilot for the most part. Anyways, moving on, right? An explanation of that. I wanted to get into, look, I know there's a lot going on in the world, but Mr. Pink had written me, because he heard me say something about Jordan B. Peterson, and I guess now's the time as good as any, to discuss this. I'm still a fan of Jordan Peterson's work. Please take note of how I phrased that. I'm a fan of his work, right? There's a couple of things, right? Okay. There is nothing more important in this time that we're in my opinion. There is nothing more important than the station of the Father in these times. There is nothing more of a kingpin. There's nothing that's more causal to what's been going on in the Western world, or what's happening in the Western world right now, than the fact that there has been an attack on the family, on the Christian family, for many decades now. And now we are seeing the fruit of a Christian people who have become disconnected to their God. We have, as Christian people, we have embraced, to a certain degree, we've embraced divorce, and we've embraced, a lot of things that we should have never have touched. But we did. And when people stand up and they say, I'm going to assume the station of a father, right? We have a nation right now of orphans in America. People like me, right? Like my dad left when I was 1.5. If you're listening, your parents probably got divorced or were never married, right? Like that's a reality. You don't know Nobody is walking around who doesn't know somebody whose parents were divorced. Like if you're the weird exception to the rule where your parents are still married to this day, congratulations. But you can look through all your friends in your mental Rolodex. All their parents got divorced. That's an attack. And now you've got a nation of orphans running around who can't even say the word father because it hurts. There's so much pain that is tied to that word that they can't even say it. And so when somebody stands up and says, I believe that God sent me to be a father to this generation, that's a holy thing, and it's needed, right? There is nothing that you can do as an individual, man or a woman. If you're a man, there is nothing more important than your station as a father. You have to assume that role. And if you're a mother, there is nothing more important than your position as a mother, and to do everything to remain married and to maintain a stable household for those babies. That's the fix it. You have to teach your children. You have to instruct your children. You have to teach them how to pray. You have to teach them how to read. You have to teach them how to think for themselves and come to the knowledge of God on their own so that it belongs to them. There's nothing more important. And so when a guy like Jordan B. Peterson stands up, now here's the thing. There's a lot of guys out there that I respect, I even like Tony Robbins, right? I like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins has an island. He owns his own island. Congratulations. It's down there like by Fiji, or it's on Fiji or something like that. And if you've got like, I don't know, $100,000, you can go down and live on his island for a while and be coached by him directly. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. You want to know why? Because Tony Robbins doesn't stand up and say, I represent the Lord Jesus Christ and his kingdom and his justice, and I'm going to teach you how to be closer to God. He can do whatever he wants. Just don't come onto this particular turf. Don't do that, Tony Robbins. And he doesn't. He stays in his lane. And he's like, look, I'm a giant man, because Tony Robbins literally has a medical condition that causes him to be a giant, right? That's why he's so big, and his jaw is so big, and his hands are so big. He's a giant. He's got a big booming voice, and he figured out a way to keep people motivated, and I think that's good. You should keep people motivated. And if you come to a place in your life where you're Tai Lopez or, Anthony Robbins or, these kind of people, it's like, look, go get that money, man. If that's what you're good at. Tai Lopez, I don't like that guy, but it's like, I see what he's doing. He's getting rich on telling other people that he can be rich. I heard somebody say this the other day, and I can't remember who it was. They said, like, if you want to make $1 million by selling a book, like if you want to write a book and make $1 million, then you have to put millionaire or million or some derivation of that in the title of the book, because a lot of people will buy it. If you just put how to be a millionaire in the title of your book in some way that isn't, plagiarizing somebody else's book title, like you'll make $1 million. Like if that's your thing, fine, whatever. You do whatever you want to do. If you want to sell snake oil, go sell snake oil. Just don't get it twisted. Don't come over into Jesus Christ territory. Because the people that do, right, I don't have a problem with Tai Lopez outside of the fact that I don't like him. That's the worst thing that I have to say about Tai Lopez, is that I don't like him and I wouldn't listen to him and I wouldn't buy his books. I think he's a charlatan. Right? That's the worst thing I could say about him. But I've got way worse things to say about Joel Osteen and Creflo Dollar. Those kind of people. Those people are the problem is different. Listen, I have no problem with people getting rich. I don't even necessarily have a problem. Like, people are always coming up with like this new vitamin that you can take. Man, it's the miracle vitamin. It's gonna make your dick hard, and it's gonna make you sleep really good at night, and it's gonna make you a millionaire, and it's gonna give it's like there's always somebody selling some new miracle vitamin. It's like, that's fine. It's fine, because who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe that root that you found in the Amazon jungle is gonna cure cancer. What? Who knows? It's trial and error or whatever. And if people get all caught up in the buzz, that's fine. Just don't be showing up saying, I remember, you remember Ricardo Montalban from Fantasy Island, who was also, who played Khan in Star Trek. Remember Ricardo Montalban? I remember, like, very near, excuse me, I'm very sorry. I remember very close to when he died, he had an infomercial, one of those ones that comes on at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was a cross, like a like a piece of jewelry, a crucifix. And he was saying, like, oh man, if you buy this cross, like, God's gonna bless you. Like, you're gonna have all these supernatural things happening in your life as long as you pick up that phone and have your credit card ready. You buy this cross. And they had all these old Spanish, Mexican women giving testimonials like, oh, I bought this cross and my daughter's cancer was cured, and da 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 da. It's like, dude, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, if you want to sell a magic, remember those bracelets, those magnetic bracelets they used to sell at the kiosk in the mall? Like, oh, if you put on this bracelet, it's going to give you better balance. It's like, okay, that's snake oil. It's fine. It's fine. Don't be invoking the name of my Redeemer if you want to sell magnetic bracelets. If you want to make some money because people will buy anything, fine. That's fine. It comes down to Garvea Demptor, buyer beware. There's a reason why we don't just have that saying in English. That goes all the way back to the Latin. Garvea Demptor, pal, buyer beware. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to go buy the magnetic bracelet, you go ahead, buyer beware. Like, it's on you to be smart enough to know, like okay, that's probably not a real thing. But if it is, hell, it's only $10, so I might as well, whatever. But it's on you. But the minute you start bringing other people's faith into it, it's like, oh boy, oh boy. So Tai Lopez, who I don't like, and Anthony Robbins, who I do like. It's like, dude, you sell whatever you want, dude. Anthony Robbins will tell you, like, look, the whole thing is schedule. Discipline. Discipline yourself. Have a schedule. Know what you're going to do. Have a plan. That's his whole thing. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars off of that. Fine. The minute he starts invoking the name of my Redeemer, we're going to have problems. It's a wholly, and by wholly I mean completely, it is a completely different thing what Anthony Robbins does versus what Joel Osteen does. Joel Osteen stands up there in his $10,000 suit, which, again, no problem so far. Listen, if you have $10,000, like if you get, if you buy some Bitcoin and it goes to the moon, and you want to go buy a $10,000 suit, like, trust me, I will be envious. I also would like to go and have a tailored. I don't have a problem with that, is what I'm getting at. Joel Osteen wants to wear fancy clothes. I get it, man. I love the feeling of a tailored suit. But it's different when he stands up there and literally declares over, how many people are in that room? 30,000, 70,000? I mean, he's got a stadium. That's where he preaches every Sunday. And he says, look at me. Look at these nice suits that I wear. Look how perfect my hair is. You know how expensive it is to have my hair like this? Have you guys seen the pictures of my house? I have a private jet. You know why I have all these things? Because I have figured out how to properly please the Almighty Lord. And if you just do what I tell you to do, you're gonna be closer, man. So just get that envelope from the seat in front of you, pull it out, stuff some money in it, send it up to me. Trust me. There are Christian people who've gotten on TV and do it to this day and say, listen, I understand, like the Lord is telling me right now, the Lord is telling me. The holy God of Israel, the lover of your soul, he's talking to me right now and he's telling me that some of y'all, you got the cancer. And he's telling me that if you send me some money right now, oh, hold on a second, what's that, Lord? $2,000. Are you sure? It's a lot of money, Lord. Okay, I'll tell him. The Lord is telling me right now, y'all need to send me $2,000. And God will come and meet you in your distress. There have been people that literally have died from that. That they took up all their money that they would have used for their chemotherapy or whatever, and they sent it to some jackass on TV. That's how powerful faith is. And when it's manipulated, it's like, ooh-wee. Now, Jordan B. Peterson, again, I don't have any problem with what's in his book, and I'll still recommend it. Like, I recommend that you buy 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. I think you ought to read it. It's a bit slow at times, but the message is good. That man's life work is good. That man has dedicated his life to figuring out how the hell did Europe completely lose their marbles in the last century. How did that happen? And what are the parallels that, what is it that, what are the lessons that we have not learned that's causing all of this insanity today? And I believe that work is very important. And I believe that you should pay attention to Jordan B. Peterson, because when it comes to that aspect of his life, the work, you can divine a great deal of wisdom from, or extract a great deal of wisdom from that, because you can look around and see like, oh yeah, so the Nazis did that, and the Russians did this, and this is exactly what's happening today. You need that. We all need that. The problem that I have with Jordan B. Peterson is there are a couple of things in his life right now that I'm looking at going, all right, if this goes any further, like you're on dangerous ground right now, and if you continue to go any further into this, the more dangerous you're going to be to the people around you. Right? Because I believe that Joel Osteen and every politician who ever lived and every minister that went wrong, like I believe that they all started off from a pure place. They wanted to help. And then the money. Then the money got them. Right? The devil came in and offered you the Faustian Deal. And now we've got Jordan B. Peterson, who has, in fact, invoked at least the title of my religion. You know what I mean? And I don't like that word religion very much, but I think for this conversation it will do. He's up there talking about being a Christian, and it's like, okay, don't be very careful, Mr. Peterson, Dr. Peterson. Be very careful what you say. Be very careful with what comes out of your mouth next. Because what's been going on with him is that, about 1.5 years ago, nearly 2 years ago, this good man with his good work was thrust into the burning hot spotlight. His government, the government of Canada, was telling him that he needed to pronounce certain words out of his face. And he stood up and said, you are encroaching on my sovereignty as a human being. You're telling me I must speak. I must say things that you say that I must say, and I will not do that. And because of that, he got on Joe Rogan's podcast, and 6 million people saw him. And because of that, it led to bigger and bigger, and the spotlight got brighter and brighter and brighter. And the next thing you know, old Dr. Peterson is wearing some, $3,000 to $10,000 suits, which again, I'm all for. I'm all for that. I'm all for the fact that he's got one of the biggest selling books of, all time. One of them. I'm all for that. I'm all for the fact that he's making dough. My man's getting paid. I'm all for that. I'm all for the suits. And I'm all for the fame, right? Celebrity is a very powerful thing. It can be used very powerfully. But if you let that sickness get into you, if you start buying your own bullshit, that's why I always say, and pardon the language, but that's why I always say, like, you know where I get that when I was telling you guys, like, the most important job in the world, like everybody thinks they have the most important job in the world. Oh, society would fall apart if it weren't for my kind. It's like, no. The most important job in the world is a plumber. Plumbers are the most important job. Because there's two reasons I say that. One, because it's true, but like how I came up with that mental process is back when I was a commodity trader, I started realizing, like, man, my head's getting really big. I'm starting to think like, oh, I'm a commodity trader. I wear fancy suits. I buy very expensive liquor. I bang, really hot, whatever. I had to come up with a way in my mind where it's like, no. Actually, who is the most important? Like, who can society live without the least? It's the plumber. You lose the plumbing, and all of a sudden you're living in your own filth, and disease comes out of that. That's why there's typhus right now in Los Angeles. Like, that's why. When you live in your own filth, you get disease and you die. And the plumbers are the ones who come in and they build the systems that take your filth away from you. The reason I say that is because plumbers kind of, in your mind, it's like, well, they're kind of on the lower ranks. They're not brain surgeons. And we tend to think of things that way, like brain surgeon or rocket scientist or rocket surgeon is way up here, and the plumber and the ditch digger is way down there. It's like, no, you're thinking, you're thinking in the wrong terms when you think like that. The reason I was bringing that up is like the tendency for everyone including me, everyone including you, everyone including Dr. Jordan B Peterson, is that we all come to a place where we're tempted to buy our own bullshit. Tai Lopez is now in a place where he believes everything he says, and that's unfortunate because now he's lost. He's never going to be able to stand up on a stage and be like, yeah, I made millions of dollars by telling everybody if they did what I say, they would make millions of dollars. That's how I got rich. He'll never be able to say that because he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. You know why? Because he's bought his own BS. And now we have Jordan B Peterson, who is, I'm getting to like what my beef is with him, is that he's represented by CAA. All right, now CAA is the biggest. Okay, did you guys ever watch? What was that show about the four douchebags on? I used to love that show. The show on HBO that Mark Wahlberg produced about the famous guy, Vinny. What was that show? Oh, Entourage. You ever watch Entourage? You remember Ari, played by Jeremy Piven? Okay, well that's who CAA is, right? They are Jeremy Piven is, Ari is the head of CAA. They represent all the stars. That's the most powerful agency there is, and Jordan B Peterson is represented by them as of late. Now, if you're a movie star or a musician and it's like what you are is famous, like that's your thing, like you're a talent, like you can act, you can sing, you can play instruments, you can dance, fine. Go be represented by a talent agency. That's what CAA is. They're a talent agency for very famous people. The fact that Jordan Peterson is repped by them, I'm not saying he needs to not have representation. In fact, quite the opposite. He does need to have representation. There's wolves out there who want to take advantage of him. But you're being represented by people who, they only think about fame and commodifying your fame. They don't care about your message. They don't care about what you're doing. They care about the fact that you are right now standing in the blazing hot spotlight, and they can commodify that. So their motivation, CAA's motivation, is to get him booked. Just get him standing in front of people. Let's get him and Dave Rubin and the Weinstein brothers and Sam Harris. Let's just get these guys together because we can make money off of this. We can keep these people on the road, just keep cashing this cow in, man, for as long as it lasts, because it's not going to last very long. We just need to make as much money as we can right now. I don't have a problem with the fact that Dr. Peterson needs a manager. He certainly does. Anybody with that amount of, new money and new fame, it's like, yeah, you need people around you that's going to help you get through this. But you chose Ari. You know what I mean? Like, that's not like Ari doesn't care about you. He cares about your fame. Ari's only concern is managing fame. And I think that kind of lends itself to, like, I think you're enjoying the fame a little bit too much. And I think you're forgetting what you're here to do. You're here to be a father to the fatherless. And and the fact that Dr. Peterson has found it in his heart to charge hundreds of dollars for the meet and greet after his talks. If you want to go up and get a selfie and shake the hand of this man who has done great work, it's going to cost you about $300. Now, certainly not a life-altering sum of money, but he's talking to young men. His message is to young men. His message is to the fatherless. These kids don't have $300. You know how hard that's a week's paycheck. That's after taxes, that's a week. These young men are giving up a week of their paycheck to just meet this guy and be like, oh, thank you for this message. Here's $300. I'm giving you one of the 52 things, the weeks of a year. I'm giving you one out of the 52 that I have. Just so I can shake your hand and get a selfie. It's like, doctor, okay, again, by itself, if your name is Tony Robbins, if you want to charge people that much money to shake your hand, hell, I would pay it. Right? I like that guy. But it's different. I don't look to him. I don't look to Tony Robbins as like, oh, you're the spiritual guy. Tony Robbins has even said that. Like, he had a whole documentary called I'm Not a Guru. Like, he's wise enough to separate himself. It's like, Dr. Peterson, you are the guru. You're the guy who stood up and said, listen, this Bible thing, it's all real. You need to get into it. You need to explore who Jesus Christ was and who are you in all of these stories and all that. Like, and if you're an atheist, that's fine too. Just think of it as all metaphor then. Like, if that's what you've got, like, if you can't handle the idea that there's a lot of people that believe that all this stuff actually happened, and you don't want to believe that, fine. Here's what you do. Just think of it as a metaphor. And you still have a responsibility to place yourself in the metaphor and to learn what you can from the metaphor. You don't get to just say, well, I'm an atheist, so I'm not going to read it. No, that's lazy. You're being lazy and disingenuous. When Jordan B. Peterson stands up and says, I just got famous, I just got rich, which, again, both, fine. Great. Like, I'm happy about that. I am happy that he's got the #1 best. You know why? Because I believe with all my heart, like, it's important for me to be happy for him and to promote his book, because when I release my books, I want them to sell. And I don't want to be hating on other people, because I don't want that kind of energy, man. Like, I want other people to do well, because when other people do well, it lets me know that I can do well. I do not have a problem with Jordan B. Peterson making money or being famous. I have a problem with the fact that he's charging hundreds of dollars to shake his hand. I'm having a problem with the fact that he's represented by an agency that has nothing to do with anything moral or virtuous. And there's one other thing. The company that he keeps. All right. I used to say this back on the Crypto Currently podcast. Like, you are the average of your 5 closest friends. Right? Jordan Peterson is hanging out on a regular basis with Sam Harris, who has nothing of a message but lies and nihilism. Sam Harris is like, oh man, I'm way into meditation, man. I go out into the desert and drink ayahuasca and I trip out and meditate. It's like, no, you don't. There's no way you're that sad all the time and have any sort of meditation life. You're bullshitting people. And you know it, and you're doing it because you know that people have a need for spiritual connection. And when you stand up there and say, I'm an atheist, and I have this metaphysical aspect about my life, you're taking all those atheists and you're bringing them to you to learn a false sense of spirituality. You're feeding that thing in them, and you're going to leave them empty. You know what it's like? This is the danger of buying your own bullshit and leaving people empty. It's like, you guys remember The Secret? Remember that book? Oh, it was all, Oprah couldn't stop talking about it. And then they made a movie or a documentary. You remember that? With the little message or the vision boards? And you'd have to make that board and put a picture of a Lamborghini, put a picture of a mansion, put a picture of a cheerleader, put a picture of, like all the things that you wanted. It's your vision board, man. If you just bring it in from the eternal into the temporal with your mind, man, you can have all the things you want. You don't need God. You are God, man. You're God. You need to bring it up. That's what The Secret was. And all those people that were a part of that, they all bought into their own BS. And what happened? That one guy, I don't know if you guys know this story or not, but the one guy that was in that documentary of The Secret, he was like one of these big gurus, and he was making just huge sums of money, and he was famous, and he was on the speaking circuit and all that. And he went out to Arizona, and he built this like place where they could have a retreat. They had this, one of those sweat rooms, a sweat lodge. And he was telling people, like, listen, if you come to this sweat lodge, man, if you give me, I think it was like $30,000 or something like that, you can come and be a part of the sweat lodge, man. We're going to transcend. We're going to get to the next level, baby, but it's going to cost you. And they went out there, and I think it was a lady. A lady ended up dying because they wouldn't give her any water. He's like, no, don't drink any water, man. I'm telling you, we're going to get to the next level. Like, he bought his own bullshit, and a lady died, and he went to prison. Guess what? Now that he's out of prison, I saw another interview with this guy. He has he looks into the camera and he's like, it's unfortunate that somebody died, but it's like, I guess this is just what the universe had for me, or whatever it was that he said. It's like, dude, stop buying your own bullshit. This is the danger. Like, again, let me just point this out. There's nothing particular, like with Jordan B. Peterson, he said some things that I disagree with and I think that are bad, but it's not unforgivable. Like, the guy's not done anything like evil or whatever, in my opinion. Right? Like, he hasn't done anything that isn't, like, he could, if he just stops and takes a look around and says, okay, you know what, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry, everybody. I took us down the wrong path. Let's everybody turn around. Let's go back to the fork in the path, and we'll go the other way. It's like, fine. There's nothing, I guess what I'm saying is Jordan B. Peterson, nobody's died yet. You know what I mean? He hasn't killed anybody yet. His teachings have not resulted in anybody's death yet. Right, so I'm not there. What I'm saying is he is on the path to buying his own bullshit, and he's currently purchasing it, getting represented by CAA, charging people hundreds of dollars just to shake your hand and get a selfie, hanging out with Sam Harris, a nihilist, Dave Rubin, like a married gay dude, right? They can't have children. Like, he's like, when Dave Rubin dies, as brilliant of a man as he is, when he dies, if he doesn't change his ways, when he dies, his genetic material will cease to be in the earth. That's a tragic. That is tragedy. And I don't think Jordan Peterson's speaking life into these men. Right? Eric Weinstein is like, he seems like a nice enough guy, but he's still like a diehard, bedwetting liberal. And it's like, Jordan, like, if you're gonna invoke the name of Jesus Christ in what you're talking about, that the Holy Spirit is your guiding force, you can't have it both ways. Because when you try, you're going to end up being Joel Osteen and Creflo Dollar. You're just going to be about the money and the fame, and you're going to drive a lot of people into the ground, either literally or metaphorically, or whatever the other word is. That's the problem that I have. Like I was very hopeful, right, that he would have used his fame, his newfound fame, and the power of his intellect to draw people close to Christ, that people would have a renewed vigor to find their own place in the kingdom of heaven, a place that is theirs in the kingdom of heaven. But I see him making some very bad mistakes, and I guess that's... Did any of that make sense? You guys, let me know. Just some thoughts on that, but anyways, let me just recap. Thank you guys so much for the money. If you want to support the show, you can do that on archadvocate.com. There's both Patreon and PayPal there. arch-advocate.com. And yeah, just, beware of the wolves, man. People start off good, I think. I don't think people come out as wolves. Like I think it's a slow process. And that's something that I pray about all the time. It's like, Lord, let me always remember like who I truly am. Let me never buy into my own bullshit. There's a whole passage in the book of Jeremiah about that, where God is speaking to Jeremiah. He's saying, tell the people this. Thus saith the Lord. The Lord says this. Stop prophesying falsely in my name. Stop doing that. If you want to be a false prophet, that's fine. Go be a false prophet. Just don't do it in my name. You're confusing people. Tell the false prophets who prophesy falsely, thus saith the Lord. Stop prophesying in my name. And stop going around telling people like, oh, I had a dream. I had a dream, man. I had this vision, man. God says you didn't have, you ate some bad pizza. That's why you had that weird dream. I never gave you that dream. You had that dream because you ate some weird food. And I never told you to go anywhere, and yet you ran there. It literally says that, which is funny because that's kind of one of those isms of the English language, but it's right there in the ancient Hebrew. God is saying, like, I didn't tell you to go anywhere, and yet you ran. This is the problem. This is the mistake, I believe, that Dr. Peterson is making. And it's saddening to me. But I'll still read his books. I'll still promote his book. I still believe in his work. You know what I mean? I can separate the two. I can do both. Anyways, that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week I'm just kidding. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys on Twitter and on Telegram and on my Facebook. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.